Hello, how is everybody? Hope you're all well. I'm just setting up here. Almost done. Yeah, so hello. I think second now stream on the main Audio Imperia channel. Thank you very much for joining. If you're joining us now, that's very cool. Yeah, this one is going to be a kind of continuation of, in some ways, of last week's stream. But we're going to be doing something a bit different. Thank you to everybody who joined me last week. It was great fun. Apologies again for the little mishaps in the beginning. I think we've got all those sorted now. So far as I can see, everything appears to be running nicely today. So yeah, what we're going to be doing today is we started off last week doing a sort of mock-up of the Marvel logo. And we're going to carry on with that this week now, which is going to be very cool. But we're going to do a kind of Thunderbolts version of it, if you like, or we're going to take it in the Thunderbolts direction. Then we're going to do a bit of Thunderbolt style underscore, which is going to be very cool. Very good fun to do. So yeah, that's going to be the plan for today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Thunderbolt soundtrack, kind of, you know, what it sounds like, the kind of influences. I think it's a really cool soundtrack. It's by Son Lux. If you haven't heard it yet, check it out. It's really good. And if you haven't, by the way, seen the film, there's not going to be any spoilers or anything, unless you consider kind of the very, very beginning, a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler. It's just basically, you know, they do an interesting thing with the Marvel logo. And we're going to kind of replicate it today. It's not going to be exact, but we're going to kind of replicate it today. Hey, Ollie. Ollie is in the chat. So some of the Audio Imperia gang are going to be in the chat. So if you have any questions to me, let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them. But if you have any other questions, and I'm busy with music as I sometimes am, sure one of the other guys will get back to you as well, which is going to be cool. So yeah, if you haven't joined us before, welcome. We just write some music, we just hang out. If you want to ask questions, if you want to get involved in the chat, if you want to sidetrack and talk about something random for a bit, it's kind of everything goes really. But we will try and focus on getting some music done as well today. Because that's always a good, you know, fun part of the process, and that's really why we're here. So we will have a look at some sort of techniques that are used in the Thunderbolts soundtrack. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. You know, I enjoy most of the Marvel soundtracks, but the Thunderbolts one was kind of quite a fresh take on everything, which was really interesting to hear. And I've been listening to it, and yeah, last week we did the Marvel logo. This week we're going to sort of keep it going in that vein, but do a very Thunderbolt style interpretation of the end of the Marvel theme, and then we're going to go and do some kind of Thunderbolt style underscore stuff and look at some of the techniques that they use in their score, which is very cool. Okay, so probably, I don't think there's any real housekeeping. Every week we normally do like a housekeeping thing where there's anything to talk about. There's no announcements or anything as such. I think the link to our Discord is in the server, is in the description, below. So if you do want to head over to our Discord server where we talk about anything and everything, all things music related, you'd be more than welcome to come and join us over on the Discord. There's a whole bunch of people over there. It's a really good community. Many of them are going to be on the stream today, I'm sure. Yeah, so if you want to join us over on there, I think the link is in the description. And of course, if you're not subscribed to the Audio Imperia channel, let us know. No, don't let us know. What am I talking about? I'm having one of those days. Just subscribe. You don't have to let us know that you're not subscribed. That's a strange thing. You can just click subscribe, and then you'll get all the notifications and everything about when there's new videos and things released. We released one on Sunday, I believe it was, which is a little Star Wars mashup, which was good fun. We sort of decided around May the 4th, let's just spend a day or a couple of days and do a Star Wars style mashup of a couple of famous themes. And that was really good fun. You know, we just had a bit of fun doing that, and yeah, you can go check that out now. We did a bit of a video on how we put everything together, and it didn't turn out too badly. You know, we had a good time doing it. So let's head over to our door, and then we shall get started, I think, today. Cool. So this is the door. If you haven't seen this view before with us, if you haven't been with us, then this is my template. Everything's sort of set up. I've done a few extra bits today that will prepare us for what we're going to do with this Thunderbolts style kind of underscore stuff that we're going to do. But last week we did the Marvel logo theme, the one by Michael Giacchino. I think there was another one by Brian Tyler, which might have come before the Michael Giacchino one. Let me know if it did. I'm not that great with Marvel stuff. Don't shoot me. I'm more of a Star Wars man. But yeah, there's been a couple of Marvel logos, but I think the one that is now the sort of well-known one is, or the better known one is the Michael Giacchino one. So we kind of did a mock-up of that. We put it together in a couple of hours, really, and it turned out okay. You know, it's definitely not completely finished, but I shall play you through that, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. So this is where we got pretty much at the end of last week. There we go. So that's kind of where we got to. It's not completely put together. I'd certainly do a little bit of tweaking and some mixing and things, but got to a pretty good state. If you weren't with us last week, we did this on last week's stream, which is available to view over on our live page. So check that out. Oh, are you getting no sound? Let me just double check. You should be getting sound. According to my OBS, you're getting sound. Let me just play it again quickly. Everything. Oh, no door sound. That's strange. Let me just see. Oh, I know why. I think I know why. Let's try it again. We can't go one stream without a technical hitch. Now we'll get door sound. So here's what we did last week. Hey, Peter. So let me know, but you should have got sound that time. Apologies. I double checked everything. I was like, I'm sure it's all good to go. Everything's fine. What could go wrong? No sound, of course. But that should have come through this time. So do let me know if there's still a problem, but everything should be playing as normal. So yeah, that's what we did last week. As I said, we've got the stream from last week available to watch if you want to dig in a bit further into what we did to sort of bring that to life. This week, what we're going to do now is kind of do as if this was the beginning of a Thunderbolts style cue or something. So we're going to take this, we're going to do what happens at the beginning of Thunderbolts. So not exactly what happens, but a kind of a similar thing. Thank you very much for letting me know. Good that it was all there. Yeah, I keep forgetting to reroute things. Every time I film something on OBS, I have to change the rerouting and blah, blah, blah. Boring story. Anyway, everything looks to be working now. So yeah, if you haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, this is not a spoiler because it's right at the beginning of the film, but the Marvel logo has a sort of twist that's unique to Thunderbolts. It takes this slightly dark, void-like turn, shall we say. And we're going to sort of do something that mimics that, and then we're going to go into a kind of Thunderbolt star underscore cue. We're going to do just this, right, quite simple, quite plain, but I hope quite evocative sort of cue. I haven't really thought it through yet, so you're going to watch me stumble over it live, but that's what this is all about. And you guys can help me if I need the help, because you know, you're all musicians. You can give me some inspiration or some ideas. But if you haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, if you haven't heard the score, it's a really cool score. It's an orchestral score, but it's got a lot of sound design and synth elements sort of buried in. It's a very hybrid style score, more so than a lot of the more traditionally orchestral Marvel stuff. So it's a really interesting score. It's perhaps not as bombastic as a lot of the other scores, although it does definitely have those moments. But it has some really beautiful sound design in it, some really useful. Hey, good to see you, Link. And I'm glad that you're happy that this popped up in your feed. We're glad that we're glad that it popped up in your feed as well. It's good to have people on the chat. Good to be doing this live with people. So yeah, we're going to sort of do this Thunderbolts thing. And it's really about the merging of sound design and synth layers, and particularly sort of percussion layers as well, with the orchestra. But the orchestra, it's an interesting thing because a lot of composers, someone like an Alan Silvestri, for example, who's done some Marvel work, including the famous Avengers theme, will treat the orchestra as a whole group of different instruments, if you like, you know, and really the bread and butter of their music is the orchestra, and there may be some synth elements or percussion elements, but they're usually thought of as additions to the primary orchestral sound. What's great about composers like Son Lux is that they're thinking more differently. They see the orchestra in a way as more of just another instrument inside a group of different instruments like synths and sound design and percussion and, you know, things like that. So the way they utilize the orchestra is not always as the primary thing, like a traditional orchestral composer would think of it. They think of the orchestra in a more modern sense, which is it's something inside of their templates or something inside of their projects that they can utilize alongside lots of other sounds, and they can process the orchestra. They can just use bits of the orchestra and combine it with sound design and things. It's just a very different workflow in your head, I think. I come from a more traditional background where I would have thought of the orchestra as being, you know, the thing. And then I would have maybe added some synths or some sound design here and there. But I think a lot of composers these days who are much more used to working in the DAW workflow, the orchestra can still be an important part of their setup, but it doesn't have to be the center and core of what they're doing. It can be a kind of just one layer of a whole bunch of different layers, which is really interesting thing. So yeah, check out the Thunderbolts soundtrack if you haven't yet. It is really cool. And we're going to do something today that kind of imitates one or two of the cues, just takes some of the techniques. And we're also going to take a little bit of the sort of, not so much the theme, but one of the main chord sequences that you find in Thunderbolts as well. We'll talk a little bit about why that's interesting too. So let's go through this one more time and talk about what we need to do. So this is our Marvel logo so far. Now, around here in the Thunderbolts, the film, you get this interesting sound effect. It's almost like a kind of weird descending engine-like sound. It's based on something in the film. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's this kind of interesting sound design thing. We're not going to be able to recreate it exactly. It's almost more of a sound design thing than a music thing, but we can do something like it, and we can have fun with it, and we can get the general vibe of it. So everything starts descending at this point, and it's really interesting. It's almost like the music filters out and the sound effect comes in, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to sort of pretty much filter out the music, bring the sound effect in, get something going like that sound effect, and then we're going to carry on with the score. So I've opened up these downers that we've got in one of our legacy products called Scenes from the Multiverse. Let me just close that so I can make that a bit easier. I'm happy to be here. I love hybrid scores. It feels like it helps uncover another layer of creativity and how you can push things and elevate it as well. Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, I'm from a more traditional background, but I do love trying to think in a more hybrid and more fluid sense these days. And I think a lot of scores are going in that direction. You know, blurring the lines between what's organic and what's synthetic and what's an orchestra and what's not. It's really interesting. So I'm going to take a sound like this. I'm probably going to export a couple of sounds and we're going to mash them up, do something with them. So let me just record some of these and then export them. I like to just sort of take these sounds, export them out to audio and then think about them. Let's find a couple more. This one might be cool. None of these are exactly the sound from Thunderbolts, but we're not going for that. We're just aiming more for that downer-like sound, this slow swoop down. So nice. I'll take those. Any more? Let's just take this one too. Why not? Cool. Now, let's just export these out as separate things. So right click, render in place, render with current settings. This will just make it an audio file that we can manipulate. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other bits as well. My Cubase is running a bit slow today, so I don't know why everything is taking so long, but this should happen in a second. Yeah, I've been having a real trouble with this Cubase project. I'm not sure why. So hopefully there's going to be no crashes or problems. Everything looks to be working fine. But yeah, hopefully we will not have any issues. If we do, we'll have to maybe restart Cubase. You like the sound? Yeah, it's a cool sound, isn't it? Let's just see if we can get this to work. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Yeah, we're just taking down the sounds from Scenes of the Multiverse and then we're going to manipulate them. That's if we ever get Cubase working again. You've got to love these moments on live streams when nothing works right. Let me just see if I can check what's going on here. Make sure we don't have any crashes or issues. If we do, we might have to go back to just chatting, and I'll restart Cubase and we'll talk for a minute because this isn't looking too healthy at the moment. Oh, there we go. Don't know why it's taking so long. Hopefully that won't happen again. I'll try rendering this again. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be quicker this time. Oh, it's really taking its time here. I felt that in my bones. Trust in the Cubase. I need to trust. Usually this works fine. I have no idea why it's going so painfully slow today. If it carries on, maybe we'll go back to just chatting and do a good old restart of Cubase. It'll take a couple of minutes. I restarted to do it on my same side, Ableton, because I love breaking sounds and morphing things together. I agree. It's so cool when you do that. Yeah, and that's what we're going to kind of do today, I think. But hopefully a little bit faster than we're doing it at the moment. But that's going to be the plan. Maybe I'll just export 2 of these and then we shall maybe restart Cubase and see where we're at. Yeah, apologies, guys. We've done weeks and weeks of Twitch and YouTube on our other channel, and everything's been going fine. And then we come over to the big channel, and for some reason we're just getting problems. Yeah, so I shall maybe restart Cubase in a second and see if we can fix this incredibly slow Cubase project and figure out why we're having issues with it. Because this is not going to work if we have to wait minutes for sound files to render. There we go. Okay, so if I just save this and then maybe we'll go back to just chatting and we'll talk through what we're going to do while I reload Cubase. I think it's the best thing to do, and hopefully that will solve everything and everything will be fine. So maybe we'll take this moment. If anybody's watching and has any questions about anything we're going to do today, or music in general, or just wants to talk music, here's the time to get in the chat and just talk it all through. Okay, I'm going to head back to just chatting just for 2 minutes while we sort this out. Cool. So we're back here. I'm going to close down my Cubase. Yeah, here is the time for any questions, comments, random observations, whatever you're up for talking about whilst I reload this project. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the sort of, I think it's great fun sometimes when you're doing sound design in an orchestral project and you're thinking of the orchestra not in terms of what can these players do, you know, you're thinking just about, sometimes these things are recorded in separate stems and parts and just small sections are recorded and mangled up and stuff like that. It's a really interesting way of working. So yeah, I highly recommend that you sort of sometimes work that way. I think it's a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. Sometimes to think less about the orchestra as a traditional sort of organic sound base and more as just something, another tool to be manipulated sonically. Okay, let's see if we can get this Cubase back up and get this on the road again. And knowing my luck, we're going to load all this back up and it's just going to be the same problem all over again. If it is, we'll work with it. We'll find a way to work with it. We might just have to all sit here for a minute or two while it's going. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything that you want to throw up in the chat, now is the time. I'm usually a bit distracted, but I will be able to take a look. Oh, I see one coming through. Okay, let's try loading this up. I love doing this. I've not officially gotten to do a score yet, but I've been doing similar things in my songwriting for artists, so I'm excited to learn something new today. Cool. Is that what you plan to do? Would you like to do a score at some point? I've done a few scores, nothing major, obviously, but I've done a few, which has always been good fun. It's a really interesting... just a really interesting kind of creative endeavor, I guess, you know, because there's so many different things. There's time constraints. There's sometimes budget constraints. Will Solo get any extras? That's a good question. My honest answer is I don't know, but we do listen to everything that you guys say on the chat, and some of the Audio Imperia team are usually lurking as well. So we're always listening. You know, if you say that you really want something and we keep hearing the same things, we definitely consider it in terms of what we're thinking about doing next. So the answer to that is, at this moment in time, I don't know of any plans to put anything in solo, but we're always talking about how we can, you know, expand on our products, or what products that we could make that people would find useful. And who knows, maybe we will end up doing something with solo. But yes, always put anything Any ideas, anything that you'd like to see, anything that you find, you think would make products more useful or that you think is not out there, we're always willing to hear. I wish DAWs were able to have a generic project file that can open with any DAW, something like a JPEG. That's actually a cool idea. Yeah, because working between DAWs is a bit of a nightmare, right? I've worked with people who are on Logic and I'm on Cubase, and you can make it work. You can use things like MIDI files and swap things around, but yeah, it can get a bit of a pain. It would be cool if there was a kind of consistent DAW format, right, that we could all just swap things, like you said, like a JPEG or something, or almost like a text file, and it's like it can open up in pretty much anything. Sadly, DAWs are usually a little bit more complicated than that. What DAWs are you guys using? An ethnic library from AI would be cool. Well, thank you very much for your suggestion. Yeah, that would be super exciting. You can never get enough different ethnic instruments, wood instruments and things. But as I say, yeah, we're always on the lookout for ideas, suggestions. We just like to hear what you guys, are using, what you like, what you'd like to see. Just because we're big music geeks as well, and we like talking about all things music and how you guys are using things. Link says, I've done some scoring for a cosmic horror podcast. I also write music for TV with Jack Elliott. No placement yet, but I'd really love to score a sci-fi adventure game. That's very cool. Congratulations. That's really cool that you're doing podcasts and TV and things. And hey, placements, they come eventually, right? You sometimes have to wait a little bit for your turn, but yeah, I'm sure that they will come. And I agree, sci-fi or adventure, I think they would probably be my two things. I love fantasy too. I've kind of done a sci-fi film years ago, and I've done some small projects that are fantasy based and whatever, but a good sci-fi thing would be great. That would be really cool. Do you guys have anything in particular that you'd like to score, a dream project? I'm trying to think what mine would be. I guess probably a Star Wars. I mean, I'm not going to get to do it, but, I guess a Star Wars, that would be cool because, I grew up watching Star Wars. Using Cubase Pro 14, though, I also sometimes use Studio One. Cool, yes, I'm on Cubase 14 as well, which ironically, up until this point, has been pretty great for me and now seems to be moving as slow as a snail. Just in this project today, I have no idea what's going on. Fingers crossed it's going to open in a second. Everything will be fine. I use Cubase 14 Pro. We've got a lot of Cubase people in here. That's cool. And we've also got Ableton and Studio One. Is there going to be a summer sale? Again, I'm terrible at this. I don't know. But yes, there may well be. There may be plans. We'll have to just wait and see what happens there. They don't tell me until the last minute because I can be a blabbermouth. So yeah, I sometimes get, I'll get told in summer. When it's summer, a day before, if there is a sale, I'll get told. I just get thrown in the studio and made to write music when my Cubase is working. Pete Thomas said, I think mine would be a Battlefield game, something with lots of combat music and synths. That would be cool. I think you'd be good at that as well, Peter. Yeah, that would be really cool. A Battlefield game, Legend of Zelda, Destiny, or a Scream movie. Those are the dreams and the goals. That's interesting. Legend of Zelda, 100% I agree with you. I would love to do Legend of Zelda. I would love to do a Final Fantasy as well. Destiny, have I played Destiny? I'm sure I must have done at some point, but I'm not an avid gamer with Destiny. Scream would be cool though. Yeah, there's some great Scream stuff. Do you know, I was thinking we should maybe do a kind of horror or Scream themed stream at some point, maybe for Halloween. Maybe we'll do something around then. We've got some cool libraries for that kind of thing, so it's always good to get stuck in. I think a couple of months ago, 2-3 months ago, I did do a kind of Nosferatu-inspired sort of stream, which was really good fun. But yeah, Scream would be cool. So yeah, Studio One. Oh, most of my writing is for metal bands. That's cool. I'm writing a new album for one band and working on some rap metal for another. Wow, so really eclectic stuff. I haven't done much working with bands and things, but that would be a really cool process, I think, especially if, again, you'll bring in lots of like orchestral and sound design elements to what you're doing. Also, Cubase still on 12, though. 12 is cool. 12 is a really good one. Okay, we're back on. Let's just see whether it's actually going to be working or not. We shall find out now. Oh. Are we going to have any luck with this? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, we'll wait for this to load up. I'll be speaking to you guys in the meantime. Where are we? Yeah, this is going slow for some reason. I'm sorry, guys. This is just the way things go. That would be pretty fun. Constrictor's perfect for stuff like that. Yes, Constrictor's very cool for that kind of a thing. So yeah, maybe we'll do something with Constrictor at some point. I'm still waiting for this to load up because it's going painfully slow. Are we going to have any luck with this? Hopefully. Otherwise, it's not going to be the most fun stream. Okay, so we're kind of back on. Let's just see if we can carry on and make this work, even if it's a bit slow here and there. We might just have to talk more than we normally do. But hey, it'll be cool. It'll be good to see what you guys have to say. So we've exported these sounds. Might be the contact version. Could be. Yeah, I really don't know what's going on. So I've just extended this. That's kind of cool, right? That could be good. And maybe we'll just throw a big reverb on here as well. Let me just take some of these comb filters out that I put in for now. Who knows? Maybe it's one of these random effects that's causing a lot of issues. Let's take some of these out. And then we shall see what we're going to do with it. So I think in putting some kind of reverb on here, let's just have a little listen to what we've got. I've got some setup. Maybe if we try something like a black hole. We don't want to go too crazy here. We just want something. Let's just try this. The first thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to just rough out where I think this is going to go. Let's just try using this one for now. That sounds pretty good. And I'm going to use the other one here. Do the same kind of thing. Bring it up in volume. Stretch it out a bit. And then just make sure that gets us to the end. Black hole's the best reverb. Yeah, it's so cool for that kind of FX style reverb. Really useful. Just adds a really interesting kind of, not shimmery, but just very interesting spatialization and things. Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's kind of similar to how it works. It's not exactly like that. If you right click on the top of Intercept, you see the option to reset that node to remove everything from the Intercept. Oh, wow. Do you know, I kind of knew about that, but I'm like, sometimes things are not in my workflow. So thank you very much for reminding me. And watch me not do it again for the rest of the stream because I'm useless at remembering these things. But yeah, I appreciate, you guys showing me. I've learned loads on these streams. So I appreciate you guys showing me all this stuff. We'll do the same sort of thing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, actually, let's do it here. I'm going to take these and I'm going to pop them into, I have a routing bus here, a group called Logo FX. You can probably see it here, which I'm going to use for my logo. And I've got one for the orchestra too. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So on this Logo FX, let's maybe put that comb filter. And then maybe let's try just doing something like this. Right, I'm gonna rough this in now. So I'm gonna play these two. I'm gonna put this on write. Write is gonna allow me to write in real time some automation to what we're doing here. So that's what this red button does. If I take it off, we read. That means anything that we put in is read, but nothing is written. If we use write, anything I do here will now be written, and you'll see this happen in real time. So. That's kind of cool, right? It's not exactly the same as the beginning of Thunderbolts, but it kind of works. Now, what we're going to do is this. We're going to put a filter, a simple filter on our orchestra here. And same thing, we're going to lift this right to the top here. And then in real time, I'm going to do this. And that's kind of what happens. It's obviously a lot more finesse than that, but that's kind of what happens. We're not going to take the orchestra that far down in the filter. We're going to want to keep a fair bit of it. But you get the idea of what we're trying to do here. We're going to drag this back a bit. Cool. And then we're just going to maybe filter the top out of this as well. So this is what we have now. Let's have a listen to this. Hey guys, hey Nick. Cool. That's kind of interesting. So yeah. Nice, that kind of works. And then we shall bring the filter back off here where I think I'm going to be starting the rest of the orchestral stuff. Cool, let's just have a little listen through to this and just finesse this a tiny bit. Nice, that sounds pretty cool to me. So we've kind of done what's at the beginning of Thunderbolts, and it sounds like this. You get this descent, and then you get this weird sort of entry into the beginning of the film. Just checking the chat. Thank you for sticking all with me with these Cubase issues, but everything looks to kind of be working roughly the way we want it to. So. Nice, and I'm just going to extend this one out a little bit more. And then around here where you can see I've got this tempo change, we're going to start our next underscore, if you like, and we'll talk a little bit what we're going to do there. So. That kind of works. That's cool. And I'm just going to ramp up our orchestra a little bit more softly than that. Cool, so we get the filter back in at the end. Okay, so the cue that I'm going to sort of emulate, there's a particular cue inside of the Thunderbolts soundtrack, and I'm not 100% sure what it's called, but something like Everything's Not All Right or something like that. What version of Cubase are you using? I think I'm going to miss that earlier. I'm on Cubase 14 as well, Pro. So yeah, I think that's the latest version. Before that, I was on Cubase 12, and then before that 10.5, and then before 10.5, I was on Cubase 5 for like years, from like 2010 or something to like 2020 maybe. Yeah, so 14, so same as a lot of you guys. Yeah, so what we're going to do today is we're going to sort of use some of the techniques inside of Thunderbolts score, and we're going to sort of steal a little bit from some of the Thunderbolts soundtrack as well. What's really interesting, if you guys have seen the Thunderbolt trailer, it uses a famous song by the Pixies called Where Is My Mind, which has this chord sequence. It's a great piece of music. And I was really surprised to hear inside of the actual score, there's a very similar chord sequence. Now, I'm not sure if that's deliberate. I'm not sure if that's been a coordinated thing or if it's just a coincidence, but it uses this chord sequence. So sort of a G major, F minor, and then a kind of C fifth. And we're going to copy that today. We're going to do our own spin on it, but we're going to copy that chord sequence. It is found inside of Thunderbolts, and we're going to kind of do some of the techniques. What's really interesting about this cue is it uses a lot of percussion, uses a lot of sound design, so we're going to kind of do the same thing, if Cubase will let me. We're going to see how it all works out. So I think to start this, get this going, I'm going to use a combination of a few different loops from a few different libraries, maybe something from Cerberus, also maybe something from our friends over at Native Instruments as well, some of their Contact Factory stuff. So I'm going to open this up, close this, do a little save. I'll save regularly just in case everything goes down, which has happened before and could happen again, but hopefully not. And we're going to find a couple of loops to use as a groove. So we've got these layers. Maybe. Maybe this one. We'll just try this one and see how it goes. So we're starting at bar 28 here. We're going to rough this in. We may end up not using it, but cool. Let's just pop that in and get that going. And then we'll just keep that looping. So let's try that a couple of times. Nice, and maybe we won't even use that second part. Good thing about loops is you can just sort of cut them. You know, you can truncate them and blend them and mix them up together. So see how we're just using that same part. And maybe the second time we'll use the whole loop. And that way it gives us some variety, just using the same loop. That's something that's really good with loops is you don't just have to like drag them out and leave them going for ages. You can kind of cut up loops sometimes or restart them at odd points. And that can be a good way to get some natural extra elements in. So see, this time we'll get the full loop. So that's pretty cool, right? So we have this going and we may or may not use it. Now I've also got this instrument that was really cool and sounds a little bit like some of the cymbal things that you get inside the Thunderbolt soundtrack. There's this really beautiful use of some like cymbals and sound effects and things. So I'm going to find this could work. That could work. That one could work. I kind of like the naturalness of that. It's played a little bit rough, but that's actually cool. And what we're going to want to do is add some reverb to this. It's got quite a lot of presence around it, these different loops. So we're going to simulate that. I've got this reverb here. Let's bring this down. Isn't these any previous movies? You'll give spoilers. So that's kind of quite cool, right? We've got this little groove going. We're going to do the same thing here, put some reverb on this. It's quite a short reverb, but it's just going to give us, maybe we'll take it down a little bit so we don't get too nice. So yeah, that could work. It might be too busy. Let's just try if we just cut it up and see if that works. I think that might be too even busier still. So maybe we just do this. But again, we'll just sort of get the groove going. Then we'll get the chord sequence underneath. Then we can refine. Nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some panning just to get these in different places. One of the things about soundtracks like this is that the sound design is very interesting. It's often small little things in different areas of the sonic frequency spectrum. Now you can use all kinds of spatialization software to get that stuff, or you can just be lazy, or sometimes it's the best thing just to pan things. That's what we're going to do today, is just pan things out. This will instantly give it more width. It may not always be the optimal way to work, but for what we're doing today, it's going to be fine. See how we've got like instantly more interest. Now that's probably a bit too far panned. Cool, so that kind of works. Now what I think I might want to do is instantly sort of try something with this, these kind of little bells that we have going on. So I'm going to maybe use a filter of some kind. Nice. That sounds pretty cool to me, and I might just finally try a delay on there as well. Maybe let's try ping pong delay, but really kind of low mix so that it's not getting in the way too much. It's just adding these layers. There's a lot of small details going on in the Thunderbolt soundtrack. You know, you don't just small sound design and sound processing details that add a lot of sonic sort of interest. See how that's adding more kind of rhythm because we're getting this repeating. Cool. So we have something there that's kind of working now. Bring this out a bit more. And now we can start thinking about our chord sequence. So, as I say, we're going to use this sort of chord sequence of G, F, C. What I'm thinking of doing is putting this on some solo instruments. So if I open this up, close this down again. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I want to look for solo. Our beloved solo library here. I'm going to load up the cello. Oh, I've already done it. Here's what I made earlier. Or we can even go down here. Nice, but the same thing, we got to process this. We don't want to think of this like an orchestra in a room. We want to get every instrument really working for a purpose here, and I want everything a little bit hyped, but not too overstated, just sort of hyped a little bit. So let's do some easy hyping. OTT, I'm being very lazy here, but OTT is a great free plugin that just instantly gives some lift. Nice. Now I'm going to apply some black hole to this because, again, we're going to be using a relatively minimal instrument set. And each instrument is going to be doing something quite specific, so we can afford to be a little more judicious. If you had a really dense, like, for example, in our Marvel logo, you wouldn't want things bathed in reverb and special effects because it's a whole orchestra, it'd just sound like a mess. But here, we're being a little bit more sound designy. We can do a little bit more processing. Is AI ever planned to organize a trailer competition? That's a good question. And the answer is, to my knowledge at the moment, there's no plans. But again, like I said, we want to hear everything that you guys would like. What I would say is I think we would definitely, you know, we're really passionate about the trailer world. We're involved in the trailer world in many different ways. So I think we would definitely want to be doing, you know, getting you guys closer to the trailer world, let's say, in time. So a competition could form part of that. See how we've got that little bloom? Might even bring that out a bit more. And then maybe bring this down. Cool. I'm going to rename this Solo Cello. I'm just being lazy here. And then bring this in. And see what it sounds like with our groove. So, do we want it down? Yeah. Maybe up there, and then we'll have a lower bass down. We'll see. We can always change this. Yeah, I mean, we love trailer stuff, you know, so if there's any kind of, you know, we will be doing things that are involved with trailers in some capacity, I'm sure. But I will obviously tell you about all that stuff in due course if it happens. But yeah, we love trailers, so we'll do streams about trailers. We may run a trailer competition. There may be other things that we do as well. Hey guys, I was going to say, hey Caprani. Hi guys, here again from Italy. It's interesting in mental concepts materializing in musical language. That's very true, yeah. And I always find it fascinating how each composer just approaches everything just a slightly different way. There really is, it's like fingerprints. There's really no two composers that approach things the same way. Like here I am going to try and almost mimic what's in the Thunderbolts soundtrack today, but it won't sound the same. Part of that's because I don't have, you know, what they had in terms of libraries and recording and stuff, but a lot of it's just going to be because I'm a different composer and I'll pick up on different things in different ways. That's just how it goes in the composing world, right? So no, I think we're definitely going to go down, and we're going to bring that up in the mix. Where are we in our mix here? Okay, so nice. That's starting to come together a little bit. It's got this really beautiful, mournful quality, parts of the Thunderbolts soundtrack. If you haven't seen it, again, not spoiling anything, but it does have a kind of melancholic character to it here and there. It's quite a unique Marvel film in some ways, and that's one of the ways. So, yeah, it's got the soundtrack that reflects that. You know, parts of it's quite heroic, but it's always got this slightly melancholic tone to it. So, let's have a listen. Nice. Now, here's what I'm thinking, right? I kind of want this offbeat element that goes through it. Again, we're trying to think in sort of sound design. You know, Son Lux come from like a more an EDM world, and they infuse these little EDM ideas. So these little like offbeat hits and things in the orchestra. I'm going to do a bit of that now, I think. That's cool. Just pure 100% black hole. And maybe I'm going to maybe try something like a metalizer here. This is a stock plugin inside of Cubase. Obviously not like that though. We're going to do something, and we're going to mix. Oh, that could cool. Yeah, and then maybe finally a delay. Same thing again. Just a simple mono delay, I think. So something like this. Let's just try that. I'm going to show you what I'm thinking. So it's going to be on the, if you think about like EDM music, it's all sort of downbeat, you know, and then like off the beat. So 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3, that kind of thing. So we're going to be going on the 3 here. Nice, that's cool. With everything else, I think that's going to work quite nicely. Now we'll make sure we get them hard on the beats, because this is the kind of approach where we really want things on the beat. You know, sometimes with orchestral music, you really want things kind of not necessarily on the beat, but with this, I think we really want things on the beat. Again, slightly more EDM inspired, I guess. I can take a little sip while I'm waiting for this to save. And yeah, let me know, guys. You know, what you would like to see on future streams as well. We've talked a little bit about maybe doing some kind of horror thing at some point. We've got some really cool ideas coming up, but we also want to know what you guys think. Nice. That's coming together quite nice. Now, I think we might better use something like a... This is Gravitas, and I'm using it with some of the special effect. Gravitas is in layers. So let me just show you. We've got pure piano. If I take this all the way down, really beautiful piano, kind of modern piano sound. But if I bring this up, we get this really interesting. And you can change these. You can change the different sounds. So let's try something different. Ooh. It's got some serious bass. Probably a bit too much, but that's cool. Let's try a few more. Oh, that's quite nice. You've got all these pre-designed sound design layers that add all this incredible sort of trailer goodness. So this piano it can be used for lots of different things, but it's got that classic trailer sound. You know, when you watch a trailer, it always starts like this. You know, and then it's like, nobody told me when I grew up I'd be so-and-so. Then it cuts and then it goes again, you know, and you're having like a hit the second time. Clavier is just brilliant for that kind of thing. So we could even maybe do that. Maybe that would work. Let's try it. This is what I love about writing music like this, right? It just, like, everything goes with music like this. When you're working with an orchestra, you sort of have to follow some rules to an extent. You know, there are just some conventions. You have to work with musicians, they have to be able to play it and so on. When you're writing music like this, you can do what you like. So we want everything played in these lower velocities. And then I'm going to do it up here. That's what I'm hearing, and that's kind of what we've done there. Nice. Okay, except it might help if, do we have everything going on where it should be? We actually have this starting too late. Oh, do we have the piano starting too late? It's the piano starting too late. We're all over the shop today, guys, but we're getting there. The main thing is the music's coming together. So we want everything starting on that downbeat there. Nice. Cool. And then we just want to maybe drag this back a bit, maybe like 100. Nice. Cool. Now, I'm just thinking maybe this, but quiet. Now I'm going to try maybe like a shimmer on this. This is a certain type of reverb. Dipped out for a second, but do I hear trailer competition noises? Well, no, there's no plans, so I don't want to give anybody any plot, but we will definitely listen. And we love trailers. We're in the trailer world, so we're always talking about how we could maybe do trailer streams or do things around trailers. So yes, the short answer is there's no plans, but maybe we could do something, or maybe we can involve trailers more in some of the output that we're doing. That would be very cool. But no, nothing planned at the moment, so I don't give anybody the impression that there are plans in the pipeline. Okay, so let's just see if this works. So maybe something like this. It's got this kind of interesting, it's got these kind of flute and clarinet style falls and little held notes. Maybe we'll just hold this. That could work. Nice. So that's sounding pretty good now. So with just a few layers, because these layers are quite expansive, it's all sounding quite nice already. It needs some extra elements for sure, but we're sort of getting that mournful sound that's inside of it, I think, is the most important thing. Okay, so what are we going to add next? There's quite a few things that I want to add. Maybe we're just going to go with the bass. Got the simple sine bass. Let's just try that. This is a really common technique. We've probably talked about this many times before, but a simple sub bass. This is literally just in a free instrument called Vital. I've made it myself. It's just a sine wave. It's nothing else. Filtered out to get rid of some of the top end. but it creates this really beautiful cinematic layer. And if it's layered underneath things and just mixed in right, something like this can add so much cinematic sort of weight without doing anything really. Nice. That's working really well. And I'm just going to change the envelope here to maybe bring this down slowly over time. So when we hold these notes, it sort of plucks and then it comes down in volume slightly. You can see the shape of it here, and we're just shaping that. So we got a hard attack. If I had a soft attack, it would be a lot slower in. See how it ramps in? But we won the hit. But then we want to come down slightly. So we're getting a pluck. It's almost like a bass guitar or something. So now will be a bit more of a pluck. Nice, that's coming together. Now, what I think we're going to want to do is get some offbeat kind of clicks and clacks going on here. Just to give it some interest and not make it too loopy, because we're using loops here. And I think loops are great. Loops can be fine. You can either replace them or you can just add things around them that de-loopifies them, you know, makes them not sound like a loop. I'd always recommend if you're using loops, you know, it's kind of good not to if you can, but sometimes loops are great and they really just, you know, do what you want them to do. And you can just add things around them to keep them interesting. So that's what we're going to do here, I think. So let me find... We have these clicks and we have these clacks. So I'm going to try and play these in maybe. I'm not going to try and play them in. It's just going to be bad and I'm going to have to quantize everything. So... that's what we want there. Yeah, so we're going to want... but obviously we're going to bring all this down. This is all going to be very light. Yeah. So. Yeah, okay. So, maybe just that one. Like this. Yeah, nice. Maybe just a... something like this. And one more thing, just going to check I've got the loops rightly set here as well. Yep, that everything should be set there nicely. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to bring that back a bit so everything's lining up, something around like that. Oh, I've got that completely wrong in terms of timing there. That's okay. So let me just make sure that they're... yeah, nice. That should sound okay, I think. I'm fine if everything's a little bit out of time because I want that naturalistic sound. Cool, and then we'll just carry that going. Again, like that EDM influence, we're going to sort of keep certain elements going and just build on them. So take that off for a moment. Nice. Do the same thing here. Loop. Cool. And then maybe this time we do something slightly different in the clarinet to keep some interest. Nice. We're going to just tidy these up and loop that around. And then we've got 2 instances and we can start building on what we've got here. These are the sounds that enrich and like the bells at the beginning of the composition, the previous. Yes, that's a nice cozy vibe. Thank you. Yeah, it's come together. Now, what I am going to do, I think, is just get this. I'm going to put an instance of Dolce in here. I love Dolce, especially these lows in Dolce. So I'm going to find something like the bass. I'm going to pop the bass in here, and then we're going to use that bass to create a bass line alongside our sub bass. It's sort of in between the cello and the sub bass. So it's not, you know, just sort of redundant. It's not just adding something that's already there. It's not a super cinematic low sub. Here we go. So, oh, if I can get Cubase to work again. There it is. See? Nice, cool. That sounds good. I can just literally copy this from the cello above. And then tidy it up. So I'm just going to bring an octave down. Make sure that's right. Nice. I'm just going to just let that bass go a little bit earlier there. Okay, now I think we're going to want to kind of pad or something like Element. Now, I think I was messing around with something in photosynthesis. Maybe that, but I think that's a bit intense. I'm thinking something more like these. We've got this beautiful cello inside of photosynthesis. And I don't know what exactly, but maybe like a tentative sol pont. Let's just try that. I'm looking for this kind of wavering or like textural ambience thing going on here. Yeah, that might work, you know. We're going to want to send it to a bit of room. We don't want anything too dry in this. Maybe just a bit of hall. So something not -83. Have you ever used plugin Morph 3? It allows you to blend any sound and sample together to create something totally new. I haven't, but that sounds very interesting. Definitely have to give that a go. What this is going to add is a sense of movement that we don't have. Apart from the percussion, everything at the moment is fairly static. You know, it's evolving a little bit, but it's all pretty static. This is going to give us some movement. We could even maybe, this might be too much, but let's just try it. Use something like Panman. So Panman is a really simple panning plugin software. Let's try something like this, but slow. We're obviously going to want it to be, it's not too much width, smoother. For some reason we seem to be getting everything just on one side here, but I love photosynthesis. I use atmosphere a lot in my music. That's good to hear. I'm glad you find it useful. Oh, sorry guys, do we have some kind of weird crap out on my audio then? Hold on. Are you guys hearing weird feedback then? Because everything is maxed out on my DAW audio here. I'm hoping that that's not happening. Oh, it looks like it might be. Let's just see if that's... let's see what we have going on here. Oh, we're really not having much luck today, are we? Okay, that sounds... Okay, good. I'm glad there was no massive feedback or anything. So we're back. Something really is not going right with my computer today. We're having to work through the pain. Let's just try that. Okay. Something like that, maybe. Oh, let's go back, put my click track on. Cool, that kind of works. And what I'm going to do, just bring that up to about there. And I'm just going to lose everything on the last 2 beats of these bars. Like this. So we should just get everything sort of just fade out for the last 2 beats, apart from the rhythm. Nice, okay. Like this. We're going to do the same with this photosynthesis. Let me just move that there. And again, we're going to maybe put this in a sense of black hole. Not a black hole today, but what it's going to do is just keep everything sort of moving along. I would probably, if I was mixing this for a final mix, I'd automate some of this, but we won't do that today. We'll leave it. So we really want everything to end kind of there almost. So really just fade out at that point. Yeah, maybe we'll just keep the cello going because it sounds a bit weird to have that sort of end suddenly like that. Nice. I'm going to be lazy again and use some OTT to sort of hype this up a bit. Like last time, it can't always be already super perfect. Oh, I wish that was true. But yeah, hopefully this will not be something that happens all the time. I promise you, all the other Twitches and other audio streams worked fine, or live streams. For some reason, since we've moved here, just as we're ready to show to the world what we're doing, and yeah, it's all going. Cool, let's just see how we think. Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, I think that'll work fine. Okay. We just start copying all this over. So we're going to want that there. Nice. Okay, so I'm hearing something. We got our solo flute. So something like that, but we're going to want to bathe this in reverb, really give it a sense of space. So maybe both types of reverb, we'll get the black hole on there as well. And we'll bring that quite far up. And we're also maybe going to get a delay on here as well. Let's see if this works. Maybe like that. That's quite nice. Nice. I get lost in Cubase's macros, mapping everything macros and automating those like a mad scientist. I know what you mean. Sometimes you can get lost in the Cubase craziness. Yeah, and I haven't even started using these modulators and new stuff inside of Cubase 14 very much yet, but they're very cool. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing here. OTT, I'm being super lazy today. Okay, let's see if this works. That's what we want. G sharp. God, that was the most horrendously played thing in the world. Okay. Nice, and we can really bring up that delay, I think. What we'll do is we'll use just simple volume control to ramp into that. So we're not getting it right at the beginning, but we hear it quite clearly at the end. Okay, let's try this. We can really bring that up like that. Do a little curve like this. Yeah, nice. We can go even further with that, I think. Yeah, nice. I like that. And then we'll do the same thing again, but we'll do like a higher version. Again, everything in music is always a bit like variation and similarity. It's finding a way to do both, you know. So you want to hear something that sounds similar, but it isn't quite similar. So I'll show you what I'm thinking this time. So and then this time we go higher. Yeah, nice. And obviously we'll change those notes to actually work. So something like that, I think. And obviously same thing here. We're going to want to ramp into that because we don't want to sort of hear it that crystal clear at the beginning. Something like that. Let's just see how we think that works. Yeah, nice. That's got to be a bit quieter because it's just naturally being played louder by the player. You know, that's just going to happen when you have to play higher. Generally speaking, with a wind instrument, you're going to play louder because it's really hard to play high and quiet. You know, don't ever ask like trombonists to play really low or really high, but quietly, it just you won't be the favorite person in the room. Cool. So this is sounding quite nice. You know, it probably needs a bit of work, but we'll carry on doing things. Now I've got an idea. I'm instantly hearing something like this, just to reinforce these little downward moments here. So an octave higher. I don't necessarily need the first one, just the other ones. I'm just going to bring all them down in velocity so they're not too sort of overbearing. And again, drown them in reverb. Everything about this can be quite reverb heavy because, you know, we don't have a lot going on, right? It's not like this big trumpets or anything. So we can afford to be more spacious, but we don't want to go too crazy. Oh, and thank you, by the way. Like, I didn't see that. Thank you. Glad you're liking it. I do have a question. How common place is writing in Dolby Atmos for film? Is that something you do or make notes of, or is it something directly the music editor or mixing decision? That's a really good question. I don't have a lot of experience with Dolby Atmos. I certainly know the top composers have Dolby Atmos usually as part of their studio setups. And they will probably at very least be writing, if not directly for Dolby, thinking about how it would work Dolby. The final mix would nearly always be done on the dubbing stage by the full sound mixing team. So what they may do is take what you've done and essentially upload it into their system and then, you know, do their own tweaks and things. But yes, you definitely can write in Dolby. It's not something I do. This room is not set up for that. But I know, and yes, they're writing, thinking about where they'd like to hear things right in the sound stage. And I think certainly the top composers who are working, you know, with the best of the best would already be thinking of those things. As to exactly how those decisions are made, I think the composer would usually have certainly the first, say on how they think things should be. But ultimately, when everything's on the dubbing stage and you hear all the sound effects and all the music and all the Foley and all the dialogue and everything, that's usually when the whole team, which would be the sound mixers, very often the composer, the director, will decide, do certain things need to go. The music editor may have a say too, because it's interesting when you've got sound effects and everything going, sometimes music is just too much, or you have to really cut stuff out that you normally hear, or something that sounded great when it was panned or in a different speaker may now be redundant or maybe clashing with a sound effect. So it would definitely all be finalized at the dubbing stage. But yes, I think most composers these days, certainly top-end Hollywood composers, will already be writing inside of a Atmos studio or a 5.1 studio and be thinking about their music in those terms as well. Maybe we can have a look at that one day. That'd be quite a cool stream, right? Maybe we'll talk to somebody that's got experience with that and see if they can give us some real good information about it. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But I think I'm going to want to make it much quicker than that. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly with the flutes. Yeah, that's nice. Then we'll do the same thing here. A lot of composers work in stereo with quad setup baked into the workflow, but as Adam said, they'll think about Atmos as they're writing. There we go. I'm going to presume that's from Jan, our head honcho, who knows a lot more about this stuff than me. And yeah, and of course, I don't work in Hollywood either. A lot of guys in Los Angeles will have much more specific workflows when they're working with the top producers, directors, sound studios, etc. I've never actually had some of my stuff mixed into 5.1, but I've never actually worked in 5.1 as usual. Hey, Jan. Hey, Jan. How you doing? So cool. That might just help give us a little bit of extra definition to what our flutes are doing. Let's go back and see where we're at. Nice, yeah, I like that. This is exactly these kinds of like little sound moments. You're really thinking a lot more about sound design when you're working like this. So we're just picking out those flutes with this little flourish. Nice, and I think we're going to do the same thing here. Maybe put a delay on it. Keep it going. Just a mono delay, I think we'll do fine. Nice, I quite like that, yeah. Maybe keep it going. Cool. Yeah, the LA guys are, they're a well-oiled unit when it comes to that kind of thing. Of course, it makes total sense if you're working in Hollywood, time pressures are very often just immense. And, a big part of the reason why you're successful in a place like Hollywood is because you can think on your feet, you're very fast, a huge part of because that's the thing, right? A big part about becoming a successful music composer is not always the music. Sometimes it's just, the other things as well. Are you a team player? Can you go the extra mile? Can you think fast on your feet? Stuff that's quite difficult. I know some incredible composers that would probably find Hollywood pretty hard. And similarly, you don't have to be literally the best composer who's ever lived to have a really good career somewhere like LA. Obviously helps if you're a good composer, but there are other things, like all jobs, there are other things besides just the one thing that, is the primary element of your job that are important too. Okay, let's just have a little look at where we are. We'll go back a little bit, just sort of see how all this has come together. We need to have some downbeats and stuff, but we're sort of getting something quite nice going here, I think. We'll do a little ramp into this bit now. Nice. So that little loop that we have going is pretty cool. We're going to add a couple more elements to it. Link says, yeah, my boss calls me once every 4 to 6 months and it's like, how many songs you have for discovery? I give him a number and that's it until it's time to submit stems. Yeah, I mean, it's just a well-oiled unit, right? Like these top entertainment sort of industries are working around the clock, and you know, they have these very established workflows, and yeah, you have to fit into these things. It's something we covered a bit in our course, Modern Composer Blueprint. You know, we just looked at what it takes to actually work sort of inside of Hollywood, and we spoke to a brilliant composer and a good friend of ours and a really, really talented and seasoned composer called Peter Schlosser, who gave us a great interview inside of that course and sort of told us a little bit of what it's like. How do you actually get these jobs? What are you expected to do? If you go the assistant route, you know, what you might have to do that. If you maybe go the other route and maybe become an indie composer first and work up. He gave some really, really great advice and things on how to do that and give us a picture of what it's like to actually work every day in Hollywood. You know, I've always been based in the UK. My work with Hollywood has always been, when I say Hollywood, I mean like trailers and things, not, you know, Hans Zimmer Hollywood. But what little I've done with LA and stuff has always been usually mediated through other people who are kind of, you know, the well-seasoned producers and players in that thing. And I've just done what they've asked. I get an email or a message. Can you do this? Can you do that? And I just do it to the best of my ability. Okay, so let's take a little look. We need some downbeats, and I'm just going to go to Nucleus subs. They work. That's if my computer doesn't kaput out, because we've been having some issues here, but hopefully this will load up in a second. I'm not seeing any spikes or anything. So yeah, I may have to wait a moment for this to load. Fingers crossed this is not going to happen all the time now. Maybe I've just got too much music on this computer now. I've got so many project files and things that maybe it's finally slowing down. This sounds so great. How do I recheck out this score? Is it still available? This course. Yeah, this course is still available. Modern Composer Blueprint. If you go onto the Audio Imperia website, you can go to our Maestro page, and it's on there. And yeah, it's a really cool course. It, you know, takes you sort of pretty much through the whole process if you're a beginner. Or even an intermediate, you know, there'll definitely be some stuff in the back end of the course that's really useful. And yeah, it's a course that we're sort of, you know, it's out, it's completely done, but we're always looking about updating it and you know, making it more current. So I think it's a course that's going to be living for a long time. Like a lot of the stuff that we do, we like to kind of keep things fresh and keep things, you know, in tip-top shape if we can. So yeah, it's a course that's got a life, I think. It's got some great stuff in it now, hopefully for people. And yeah, it'll keep getting added to. So maybe something like that. Now we may just have to manipulate these to get them in the right place. I'm just going to do it here rather than export to audio and wait like 40 minutes. Yeah, we're just going to want to bring that here. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's well worth checking out. Yeah, it's sort of our course, you know, introduction to all things media composing. There we go. Jan has provided the link. Nice. Yeah, and Peter gave us a great interview, and Peter's you know, really in fact, funny enough, somebody was mentioned Destiny. I think Peter works on Destiny. I'm pretty sure Peter is one of the composers on Destiny. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. So yeah, he's got some great insights. So was it who was saying they wanted to do a Destiny soundtrack? I can't remember now, but whoever it was, yeah, I think Peter's your guy because he's doing that. And yeah, it sounds super cool. Hey, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. So we've just added this bass sub. Nice. And usually I'd export this out and treat it and everything, but because we're having issues with export, I'm just going to leave it like this for now. It's working fine. That is my game. I made some fan music for Destiny. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, Destiny's amazing. We'll have to get Peter on here. I agree. Peter's a lovely guy as well, and he's just such a good composer, great friend. Yeah, I really like Peter and really like his music. And yeah, he gave us a great interview because he's been working in Hollywood for decades now and has had a really interesting career as an assistant and as a composer in his own right. He's worked in TV and games and films, and he's really sort of seen the whole process. So he was the perfect person to just tell us, you know, what's it actually like if you move to Hollywood or you want to get started in Hollywood? What does it look like to rock up and and actually try and make contacts and get in that world. And Peter's done it, you know. Peter's a working composer. Hey, don't worry. You can watch it afterwards if you've missed it so far. It's all going to be on afterwards. We had a few issues again, technical issues, but nothing major. We just had a few small Cubase teething things. But yeah. Nice. We'll just keep that quiet. We don't really want to. In fact, do you know what I'm going to do? I may even emphasize this with. Let's just try the bass drum from snare drum. Bass drum from snare drum. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with me today. The bass drum from Nucleus. Let's find the bass drum. So it's going to be, we might just want this upper end, this, but like quiet again. But it's going to give us a little upper end hit. This may or may not work, but it may just help emphasize that sub and push it through a little bit without drawing too much attention to itself. Nice, and then we just make sure that's marrying up with sub. Yeah, nice. I think that's working pretty good. We'll do the same thing here. So we're just going to eyeball all of this for today, make things easier for us. Nice. Okay. Cool. That works. And same thing up here again. Just copy and paste that. Just going to give us a little transient downbeat for these big chord changes. You know what? We should seriously do a stream where we try and use the automaton, but like seriously, we'll really try and use it. There is one thing that I think this probably is missing, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to put it in without everything going wrong. Let's just try it. Let's enable this. It might take a few seconds. Sky isn't at Bungie anymore. Sad face. Very sad. I love that so much. Completely agree. Maybe we will. Maybe next week, whatever we do next week, maybe we'll try and get some automaton in there. Maybe we'll have to like sound design the absolute, you know, sort of gubbins out of it to make it work. Gubbins is very much a technical word. Yeah, this is so weird why this computer's going so slow today, but never mind. Gives me a little tea break for a second. I know neither is Michael. It's odd that neither of them are there anymore. Times are changing inside the game industry. It's an interesting world. But yeah, it's crazy. It's sad times. Okay, so what I'm thinking of trying to do is, oh no, I'm going to want to see that. So we got pulses in Jaeger. I'm just going to try and use a pulse, but in a kind of interesting way. So what pulses do we have? Do we have pulses? Am I getting that right? Yeah. So we're not going to use a big heavy pulse, or if we use one, so this one might work. But what I'm going to do is this, again, filter. I'm going to filter it really just a lot, something like this. But even more than that, I'm talking like we're just going to get a kind of percussive. We're missing sort of something in the high end, like where a hi-hat would be, in my opinion. And get some transient designer on there to really maximize the... And then just a little bit of room just to give it some space, but not too crazy. Might be a bit too much. Nice, so maybe just... Okay, let's just... I like doing this sometimes, just put this in and then see what we think of it. We're going to start here. This could work terribly, or it could work really well. I think there's actually a little sound like this in the original soundtrack. It's just this interesting... Yeah, again, for some reason, I think my Cubase is like out of time on different fronts here. See, it sounds fine here, but when I'm putting it with this stuff, I'm not sure it's quite all linking up. My Cubase is just not liking me today. Let's try this. Maybe this is just me being silly. It is me being silly. There we go. Cool. Now let's just make sure this is no lineup. Yeah, see how behind that is? That's just me. Got all this messed up. There we go. Now this should sound much more in time generally. Nice. I'm just going to bring the sustain and actually bring the attack down on this one. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're liking it. Yeah, it's coming together okay. Nice. Let's just see. Music for Destiny was what got me into wanting to compose, wanting to make people feel what I'm here. And when I hear a great piece of music, Destiny got me in gear. I know 100% what you mean. I think it's like me and Jan talk about this. Like we grew up on, you know, World of Warcraft and Two Steps from Hell when they first started making like epic music. Like it almost didn't really exist epic music until, I don't know, maybe the you know, mid 2000s or something. But I was like, this is what I've been searching for my whole life. It's just this like cinematic music, you know, that makes me feel like I could do anything. Love that stuff. And yeah, game soundtracks can do that a lot too. So that's cool that you've got that. Okay, so let's just see. Let's maybe use a whoosh hit to get into this. We might need another few seconds for this to load now because everything is going a bit weird. Yeah. What are your favorite soundtracks of all time? I mean, that's a big question, right? I think I can answer some of mine. Definitely any of the first 6 Star Wars soundtracks, as in the first, you know, the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. Lord of the Rings, definitely. Final Fantasy VII, definitely. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, definitely. Shadow of the Colossus, I think probably would be one of mine. There's a whole bunch of other ones as well. Gladiator's great. Always love Gladiator. Cool. This is going to be done any second. And then that will hopefully be one of the last times that we get this weird problem. And then I will dig into why my Cubase is running as slow as it is for next week. We'll figure it out. Probably just the computer needs a restart or something. I bet it's something really simple. There we go. That could be the sound. That's a bit too much. I think that could be the sound. Yeah. Why not? Why not? If something's working, we don't need to overthink it. We just, oh, no, I'm going to want to send in there. So, yeah, that one there. Give it a bit of reverb. And one of my favorites, Princess Mononoke. Yes, that is, yes. Beautiful, beautiful. You know, I might listen to, I have listened to that for years. Nice. I really love Ghost in the Shell too. That's a great soundtrack. There's so many good soundtracks. I haven't had a day when I've just sat down and listened to soundtracks. I really need to do that. You know, just have a great day, listen to soundtracks again. Okay, so we need our hall here. That's about -12. Just get a little bit of ambience on this. Oh, might help fire. Yeah. Maybe just 10. And that just leads us into this. So if we just go back a little bit. Nice. And what we can do is just bring this up here so that we don't get that weird little thing going on. Cool. So this is kind of coming together quite nicely here. So we're just going to want eyeball these in. Usually we do this all with audio, but we're having weird audio issues today. So just make sure we got these in the right place. Nice. Silent Hill 2. Oh yes, Silent Hill 2 is incredible. That's one of my favorites. True, that too. That's such a great suggestion. Silent Hill 2 is amazing. Yeah. Do you know what? We should definitely do some kind of stream one day, like a Silent Hill or something inspired stream. Maybe we'll get some live guitar in there. We'll do some cool synth stuff, and we'll get some live guitar. That would be awesome. Maybe we'll do a late night one. Yeah, this is it. You could name 100 soundtracks and still leave out. I mean, I haven't put nothing by Jerry Goldsmith in Alien. I think Alien's an incredible soundtrack. Yeah, God, there's so many. Just realized I popped that there. I'm really not getting this. There we go. Around there. So. And that's where we need that next hit. Just to take us in. Sometimes you need a little transition element into a new phrase. Otherwise it just seems to... If you keep music going too long without anything happening, it can just feel like it's veering off a little bit. Just something like that, you know. Last Samurai. Yeah, that's a really good score. Yeah, that's a really cool score, actually. Hans Zimmer, isn't it? It's a pretty good film as well. I forgot about that film. Billy Connolly's in it, Scottish comedian. Nice. We'll do the same thing here. We'll sort of, everything will come around there. So yeah, there's one or two more things that I want to add here. I'm going to have to do the dreaded thing of probably opening up. And there we go. Maybe if I just use Viola's Pits, this may take a few seconds to open up, but it should open up fine. Akira Yamaoka got an award from BMI recently. Is that true? he definitely deserves one. What was really cool, I remember watching a documentary about Silent Hill 2 soundtrack and how a lot of those, and the original Silent Hill, a lot of those were made like they used to, years obviously before the internet really existed, or you could like share music and sound on the internet. You used to be able to buy like packs, CD sample packs of just random sounds and things. And a lot of the sounds that he used are sort of distorted and mangled versions of things on that CD sample pack. And I think someone's done a YouTube video where they've sort of found the original sounds and then showed you how he's manipulated them and stuff. Perhaps composing something in the style of Tenet would be cool too in the future. That would be cool. Yeah, that would be great. Göransson is a great composer. Tenet's a good soundtrack. This should hopefully open up any second. There we go. So what I'm hearing here is, and again, I think it's in the soundtrack, kind of something like this. Let's just do a delay here. So we want that kind of thing. So it's a good way, if you bring this filter down, it'll just make the delayed signal sound more distant. So I said that, but it doesn't appear to be working today. Honestly, something's wrong with this computer at the moment. But that's cool, that'll work. So I'm friends with a creature from Senate Gex, and we talk about that type of stuff all the time. It's so crazy how the landscape of something has changed so much. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's really interesting. I love all that stuff, you know, just how creative composers had to be then, because you didn't have like nearly as much stuff that you can access today. You know, you really had to search for these kinds of things. Recent God of War soundtracks, yes. Tomb Raider's cool. I definitely agree there. So let's just try. Nice. So that kind of works, I think. I think what we really want to do is EQ them up, though. They sound dark in the context of this mix because it's quite a bright sort of sounding thing. Aliens is so cool. Yeah, James Horner. He's done some incredible stuff over the years. Right, so just adding an extra layer there, which sounded pretty good. So we'll just bring those elements down a bit and just focus more on the other ones. Cool. So we're sort of almost done with this in terms of like, you know, there's more we could do. We could expand it out, but just in terms of looking at some of these key ideas and things. I'm going to do the same thing here and just brighten this a tiny bit. I want some of this shimmery stuff here. Nice. And now we can probably add some of those clicks in and they'll actually sync up all those things that we were trying to add and they weren't working because everything was at a time. That was entirely my fault, as usual. So. So that is working, but that's not what we want to do. So. just adding in some little frills here. That kind of thing, but quieter. Nice. And then maybe done. See how those sound. Nice, and we can just sort of loop that and maybe do something different the second time. Keep all this kind of quiet just in the background. Yeah, nice. Maybe not that one second time around. Nice. Cool, so that's just adding a little bit of sort of interest there. I'm going to push that to the right and just give it its own sort of space. Should we listen to the whole thing? Because we're pretty much kind of done with this, I think, as far as we can take it today. But it just will maybe recap on some of the things that we did in terms of sound design and stuff. So we started off with the very orchestral Capcom. I read Capcom the chat, and I'm saying Capcom now. The very orchestral Marvel logo. Honestly, I don't know what's wrong with my brain today. Like, it's not just Cubase that's going slow and not getting things right. It's me. The Marvel logo. Then we did the kind of Thunderbolt style, like dissension down into, is dissension a word? Probably. Descent down into sort of interesting sound design. Then we're doing this kind of slightly mournful, melancholic Thunderbolt style underscore, which is really beautiful. You find it quite a lot in the score and it works really well. This is what we got. Cool. Yeah, it's sounding pretty nice. Yeah, we're just gonna want to. I'm hearing triplets here. Using triplets is a great way of just adding something kind of new rhythmically momentarily. Just do this maybe. So the glissandos in the horns, it's all Audio Imperia, so the horns are going to be Jaeger. And one of the great things about the Audio Imperia brass, which I love, and again, I'm biased, but I thought this when I bought it long before I got involved with Audio Imperia, is the rips. That's if I actually go to a part where there's, here we go. Let me just load up an actual, there we go. That. It's almost like built in, the beautiful kind of rips into these notes. I love it. It's so cool. And it's the same with these trumpets. Even if I get them up, they've got the same sort of beautiful. That's great. Yeah, the brass is incredible. It works perfectly for this kind of stuff. Like, it's big, it's energetic, it's got all this incredible kind of legato stuff going on. It's what sold me on why I bought Nucleus and then Jaeger eventually, or the other way around. No, Nucleus first. Because it's so cool. It has that instant playability. Misha's the goat. He certainly is. But yes, that's the trumpets and stuff from the brass. It just sounds great. I love it. The brass sounds super clean. I have aired the brass library and they don't sound that good or clear. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. They just, same with Talos. Talos we have as well. So Talos is a bigger brass section, but has that same... Get right down here, it's beautiful. And sometimes I just like to combine, you know? I mean, get the Super 18... Talos is incredible. Nothing cuts through. When I'm doing trailer stuff, I always use Talos. Even if I use other stuff, I'm always like, something's missing, and then I layer it with Talos, and instantly I'm just like, yeah, that's what was missing. Yeah, Talos is cool. Jaeger's great, but I agree. The brass, I don't think there's anything quite out there that kind of captures the cinematic liveliness of brass in like film scoring. That's why I bought it, because I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that, you know, and I did it. And yeah, I think I did a demo of Jurassic Park with Nucleus, and Nucleus worked brilliant for it. Cool. I think we're going to kind of call it a day there, you know, and we'll look at what we've done. So as we were talking about with the Thunderbolt soundtrack, if you haven't heard it yet, it's well worth a listen. It has some bombastic elements, but it's nearly always, even at its most bombastic, it has this more sound design, slightly more sort of melancholic focus to it. And we could have gone a number of different ways today. We could have done the main theme is really cool. It's got some really interesting synths and stuff, but even the orchestra is often being used and manipulated like another instrument, like you would a synth or something. There's delays, there's panning, there's, you know, moving around the frequency spectrum, filters and stuff. It's really not, you can tell that they've not come from an orchestral background, but in a good way, in a really positive way. I actually think sometimes some of the most exciting music comes out of non-traditionally orchestral composers getting to use big orchestras and work with, you know, orchestrators and stuff to bring their music to life. And the Thunderbolt soundtrack is like that. So what we've done today, one of the things in the Thunderbolt soundtrack is the use of these kinds of interesting rhythms, and these sort of layered, you know, stuff that's wide and stuff that's a lot going on in different areas. We've taken a couple of loops and we've manipulated them a little bit, and we've just created this in the percussion. So really simple stuff. We've added this bass drum or kick drum and these whooshes and these subs just to get some of the downbeats there that we need. So that's what we did there. Then in the orchestra, we have pretty simple stuff, but it's mostly based around strings. There's no brass or woodwinds. Oh, there's a bit of woodwind, sorry, in this particular thing. Very simple, low strings, and this solo cello, and then these pizzicatos as well. That's all we've got going on the strings. And again, we're not thinking about the orchestra like we traditionally would. We have a treated solo cello, which definitely doesn't sound like it's in the hall. It sounds like it's a very sort of treated, processed. Here it is, sorry. Get the right one. Here how we got all that swirly reverb. That's being backed up by a more traditional low string section, just to give it some weight. And then, yeah, again, we've got these processed pizzicato strings just providing some rhythm. This kind of stuff. And then these little figures. Cool. In the woodwinds, we've got woodwinds, but again, all processed. It's not natural sounding stuff. So a lot of it's baked in reverb. Just two woodwind instruments, the flutes and the clarinets. So very kind of ambient and kind of mysterious. To back them up, we just have a little bit going on in the pitch percussion. Literally just these glockenspiels just helping the downbeats or the down flourishes. So you can see they're just helping that solo flute. It's like you wouldn't even really notice it, but without it, it just feels like it's missing a little bit of punctuation. So without and with, just adds a nice layer. It's like a sound design layer almost. Then we have some synths. We have a sub bass. We have a pad, which is actually a cello, like a processed cello. And then we also have this as well, which actually, what was this? Oh yeah, we made a pulse and we really filtered it just so we're getting a tiny little peak. It's almost like a rhythm instrument, really. But it's just helping to add a constant kind of rhythmic element to this. The cello's adding some organic nature and something mournful again. Of course, we carry on that pulse. We should do that now. And then we just have the piano just picking out some notes high and low to help this. Just adds some nice atmosphere. And all together, sounds like this. There we go. So yeah, it came together pretty well. You know, we definitely need a lot more work and whatever, but you can see in a couple of hours with some Cubase issues, we've managed to pull something out that has kind of that similar atmosphere of, you know, it's somewhere between a sound design score and an orchestral score. You can hear elements of both, and you can't really tell where one begins and the other one ends. That's very often not the case with hybrid scores. Usually you can hear the orchestra and then you can just hear the hybrid stuff sort of bolted on, like a pulse or a sound design element or a pad or something. Son Lux have really sort of found a way to blend everything more, so the orchestra is just like another instrument inside of this kind of more, ethereal sort of texture. I really like it. It's great. I think it's a really unique approach, and it made for some great moments in the film as well. Link says, I feel like I'm learning a lot with how little there is in here, but everything's staying so clear and massive. It's given me a lot of ideas, maybe want to try things differently. It's something that I struggle with it a lot to this day as well. But like when I hear really great composers, or I've studied great composers, you know, stems, I've been lucky enough to hear some really cool composers and how they put things together. And it always strikes me, it's like, sometimes there's not much going on, but everything that's going on is just so perfect and so well thought out and so big, you know, processed in a way. I'm not saying you have to process things all the time, but just a little reverb or a little distortion or something that fits it in and makes it really important inside of, like, this little bit I added on here is literally just something that I heard inside of the score and other people do as well, which is a really great thing of just like without this sort of on the 3-beat little sound design element, this sounds a bit lifeless. It's fine. But with this, just this simple sound design hit, livens it up. And yeah, it's just touches like that sometimes, you know, and it's hard. Like I sometimes struggle to find what would work or what's going to be right. But yeah, I think it's a really good lesson sometimes to just try and strip as much away as you can and make just 4 or 5 elements really work, as opposed to what I've often done in the past, which is layer, and then you can't really hear, you know, anything. It's just a big mush, and you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to be focusing on. It's a real art form. It's tough, but yeah, stuff like this is a really good way of trying to like just practice and teach yourself some of those things. And Michigan, I know it's not easy to make connection network. I'm grateful for the opportunities I get. Yeah, Jan's completely right. Keep at it. It's yeah, it's an exciting world, and I think you have to embrace all of that kind of you know, those challenges, and yeah, keep meeting people, keep putting your music out there, keep sharing it with us as well if you want to get on our Discord, or you know, become part of our course or whatever, and be part of the whole community. We're always happy to listen and help where we can. Obviously, we'll do that on the streams and the YouTube stuff as well. But yeah, we're just big music geeks, and we love making music together. So it's so cool to do this every week. Oh, Jan's coming with the big advice here. If there's one thing I've learned, I'm waiting. I'm excited. Hey, no problem. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, we'll be doing them every week. And yeah, we got lots of cool ideas lined up. Don't give up. Keep at it. Tenacity. It's totally true. I'm going to head to just chatting, and we will wrap up for today. There we go. So that was our little Thunderbolts sort of exploration today. And we took a slightly different path. We could have gone the big dramatic sort of superhero moments, but I actually really think that Son Lux come into their own with the score when they're doing something a bit different, and they're bringing some of those EDM and ambient sort of influences into the orchestral space and the soundtrack space. You don't often hear that. It's a really interesting choice for composers, and I think it worked really well. And when they did the orchestral stuff, it still kicked butt and it sounded great and it was huge and whatever. But yeah, they did these really interesting sort of quite mournful sort of moments and melancholic moments. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Great questions and great conversation as always. Thank you to Jan and Ollie for jumping in as well. I appreciate all the help these days, because sometimes it's hard trying to write music and keep track of the chat and stay interesting. So yeah, it's been super cool that you guys have joined me and that the Audio Imperia team have as well. So next Tuesday, we're going to be back. Not 100% sure what we're doing yet, but we will be announcing it pretty soon. And I think it's going to be a fun one. And as always, join our Discord if you haven't. There's a great community over there, and it's growing every single day. If you're not subscribed or you haven't clicked the bell, please do. You'll get notifications when we do live things like this. And we're also uploading lots of other videos as well, sort of tutorials, challenges. You know, we're just having fun making music, and hopefully showing you guys a thing or two along the way about what we've learned and how we do things, you know, just in case it's useful for you. We're having great chat. We're having a very motivational chat inside of the chat as well here. I know what we're doing. It'll be a really fun one. Okay, Jan knows what we're doing. Yeah, it's going to be cool, I think. So thank you. Yes, thank you to everyone. Definitely join next week. I agree. It's going to be cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And again, thank you so much for everybody that's taken part. Sorry again for some of the Cubase issues, but we worked through them. We ended up getting something. Thank you for the time. I feel like I learned quite a bit. We're definitely joining Discord. Where's that GC link at? It should be in our description. Let me know before I leave. It should be in the description of this video. So there should be a link to our Discord there. If not, I can find a link and post it up for you guys before I leave. Yeah, and it's a great place. You can people share music there, and we give feedback. And yeah, it's a great place just to sort of test ideas, test stuff that you're working on. You know, get some honest feedback, but also some real encouragement too. There we go. The link has been shared as well inside of the chat. It's in the description too. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, next Tuesday, we're going to have a lot of fun, and I hope you'll join me. And I'll, in the meantime, debug my Cubase and figure out what's going on so we don't have to wait 2 minutes for audio files to render. In the meantime, whatever you're up to, thank you very much, and have a great day wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Hope you're writing some music, and do share it with us if you are. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then, take care.